Welcome to Dongle Madness. For today, I will be talking about 3 dongles from Venture Electronic, which is VE Abigail Pro and the 3 variation of it. Let's have a look. Before proceeding any further, it is perhaps best to recap a bit of history on not by VE Abigail. As can be seen here, you are looking at the very first edition of Abigail, which is a prototype unit sent to me by VE, right? And it's actually look a bit different from the production Abigail, because production Abigail actually look like this in gray trim. This is in fact Avani prototype, right? So the funny thing is that when VE released both Abigail and Avani actually comes in black trim and Abigail will come in gray trim, right? So it's kind of like an irony, but there you have it here, right? The very first Abigail still with me, and it is marked as 31993. For a fact that some of you might remember that Abigail was actually an implementation of the same deck used by CX Pro 31993, which was quite widely popular at that time, to a point that it was sold out in the entire of AliExpress. Okay, so moving forward 1 year from that now, right, we have a new offering by Venture Electronic, and this time, in fact, I believe it is called VE Abigail Pro. Okay, as can be seen here, entirely the whole dongle has been remade into Venture Electronic trim and build. Firstly, it comes now with much better and premium 3.5mm socket, and also the enclosure of the USB DAC itself is totally reworked, right, with VE on SPC cable, right? So if we were to be compared with the original Abigail, right, definitely physically they look totally different now. However, what's more important, right, VE Pro, Abigail Pro also comes now in dedicated 4.4M socket. Which is intended for usage with the bigger plug balance mode. And this is a very special one. VE also have included a new variation of the same deck used with longer cable, and now it attached directly to any type of detachable IEM. In this instance, I'm showing the example of 2-pin type, which is attached to VE Azure. Alright. Now let's have a look what's inside. Or how does it look like? How does it register? First, I will show you, right, how does Abigail register on the software of Android itself. Okay. I will open this app, which is TTGK, right? And what this app does is that it will show me the contents, what's inside. You see here, right? So the original first version of Abigail shows Synaptics, and the product name is TX384 kHz hi-fi audio. All right. And if you remember correctly, if this same app will be to be attached with the original CX Pro, it will be showing slightly different, something else. Now let's just take it out. And attach Abigail Pro now. Open up the GK station again. Okay. As be clearly seen here, the product ID remains the same, right? But now it will register as Abigail. So effectively what it means is that Venture Electronic has actually reworked the whole software element of Abigail, which will include some minor tuning on the software side itself. So this in fact have some influence over the output of the overall dongle. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much what can be seen, at least from a software and hardware perspective. How does Abigail Pro sounds like? Okay. How much different is it from the original Abigail? I will just simply put it this way. All right. We already know, or most of us already know, how Abigail sounds like, because it is basically an improved implementation of CX Pro, right? 31993. And I have already actually published that in details on my Dongle Madness site. Let's cut the chase and go straight to the point. The majority of us already know how Abigail sounds like. And of course, even more people knows how CX Pro sounds like. So the question here is that, right, how does Abigail Pro sounds like now, right, with all the changes and the updates of the software? I'll just make it as simple as possible so that it will be easy for everyone to understand in layman's term. All right. First and foremost, all right, the most evident changes would be considered as subtle, or should I say mild, because the original Abigail, the first Abigail, was already quite an amazing dongle, right, on its own. However, right, when doing extensive A/B side-by-side comparison of Abigail Pro and Abigail 3.5, the original, I can actually hear some differences in the sound presentation. Okay, let me just put it this way. The sound signature remains the same, which is neutral and natural, right? It is organic. It does not exhibit any kind of pinna glare, all right? But, right, what I'm hearing is that first, right, the dynamic density, right? And when I say the dynamic density, it simply means that the sound itself sounds a bit more richer now to my ears, at least while using something like this Tanjim Zero, my favorite IEM now, right? Running in 3.5 mm mode, right? And a few other IEM that I normally use. I am hearing that the new Abigail Pro, right, seemingly offer a bit more authority with the imaging of the sound, right? Yes, it is. In fact, you know, going back to Abigail, can almost say that the original Abigail now sounds a bit softer as compared to Abigail Pro, which seems to have crisper imaging with the edge of the sound. All right, and that's one thing. Secondly, right, power-wise, they remain the same, and that is applicable regardless whether for Abigail 4.4 mm here or even the standard 3.5 single-ended, right? Compare with the original Abigail, right? In Hebe exclusive mode, when I play the same song over and over again, I was able to keep the same level of volume at 1632, right? There's no need for me to change the volume level at all, which is an indication that the loudness is the same. The only difference being the one that I already mentioned just now, that the sound is richer, right? And it seems like also technically it is on par with the original Abigail. Okay, so, and the next question would be like, how much different is it between this 3.5 mm to 4.4 mm balance? All right, again, I would just like to clarify. This CX31993 is already natively a single-ended, and it is an ultra-compact dongle, or should I say DAC amp, right? So regardless of how it is terminated, the output analog stage itself will always be the same, right? Coming from these two, because the material and everything are the same here, right? The only difference is that while using this 4.4 mm, now I do not need to use this sort of adapter, right? So it's primarily designed for convenient purpose. Instead, so like most people nowadays, they have 4.4 mm comes shipped with their IEM, right? So in order to use Abigail previously, right, we need to do this. We need to find an adapter, then we need to plug it in like that. So we have an additional thing going in between there. Not a problem to me, but of course to some people, right, making it simpler is perhaps the most preferred thing to do. So if you have lots of cable running on 4.4 mm, right, just get Abigail 4.4, plug it in directly. No need for adapter. Again, I would just like to stress between this and this, they are identical sound-wise. They are identical in power-wise as well. No difference. All right. Wrap things up and quickly recap on this new VE Abigail Pro. Okay. So essentially, VE is offering 3 options now, right? As the standard 3.5 mm version, the 4.4 mm variant, and also VE Abigail also comes in integrated mode here, which means that, right, even less connection in between to the IEM itself. I would just like to clarify, right, just like the original Abigail, right, it is best to keep it driving or partnered to IEMs or anything which is at under 50 ohm. The reason is that, right, despite sounding great and everything, I still do feel that, right, even the 4.4 mm balance Abigail, it may sound okay, usable with harder to drive stuff like my Fostec T40 RPMK3 magnetic planar, or even some of the harder to drive planar IEMs, but it would probably sound not as rich as how would be expected from a full-size 2 VRMS dongle. So we need to set our expectation correctly with regard to this ultra compact dongle. And coming back to the subject of ultra compact, without a doubt that, right, after hearing so many ultra compact dongles in this kind of form factor, which means that it is very simple, this is undoubtedly one of the best still available in the market nowadays, especially considering the price to performance ratio, right? The packaging, the pricing for VE Abigail Pro is still highly affordable despite being totally reworked like this, right? And I am actually grateful that we have an audio company brand like Venture Electronics still paying attention to cater for those budget segment. All right. So there you have it, VE Abigail Pro, close to my heart. I love this.